Good afternoon. You know what? For the next 2, 3 months, why don't we just commit it to learning something great together? And this idea came to my mind, and I was entertaining this idea as I was sitting inside the store, and outside the temperature dropped like 6 degree and 10 degree. It has been the coldest winter of all the time that I stay here. I have seen so much snow compared to the previous 2 years. Okay, and I was thinking about if we have to learn something great together, what would that thing be? Should I continue along the line with SQL? Like database, programming languages, a project that I took on last year, or something that's similar to it, or completely different, right? And I was thinking about, do you know how did that idea, the database, come about? I was sitting at McDonald's on the third floor, sipping my coffee and looking down. I remember that morning. I get off the Penn Station, right? And I came out, and there was a group protesting. I forgot exactly what the protest was all about, but I did join them for like 5 and 10 minutes. And we shouted out, and we run around the labs a few times and all this stuff. And I say, hey, this is good. I have enough breathing treatments and all that for after 5, 10 minutes. I headed back. I headed inside McDonald's, and I get my coffee and went upstairs, third floor, and I was sitting the very same spot that I normally sit when I go to McDonald's. That location. And I looked down and I saw the group still protesting, and there was a song that came on the radios, on the speaker system. I think it's a song by Lady Gaga and Bruno Mars. It said "Die with a Smile." And I feel like, if the world was ending, I want to say hi to you. Ooh, if the party was over, all time on earth. So I heard that song, and I like that song. And I sort of like just repeat, it's kind of like monkey here, monkey repeats, It's a very, very well-known approach when I learn in English, back in Vietnam, probably high school and all this. But anyway, this time, out of all these things, I'm trying to see, which one can we learn together. I was thinking about SQL, database, SQL programming languages, maybe, only certain groups of people like the IT, in the IT world, and not everybody in IT are mainly dealing with the database. It's only the subset, a subgroup of the IT people known as the database, the DBA, the database administrator, use that. So I'm thinking about maybe, find something that everybody use, everybody find it useful. And I'm thinking about maybe we can actually learn Spreadsheet. And remember, Microsoft Excel and Microsoft SS is the closest things to a large-scale database anyway, right? And Excel, Microsoft Excel or Google Spreadsheet, everybody use it regardless of their profession, whether you are an engineer or you in accounting or finance. Even people in accounting and finance use Excel extensively. People, in the office use Excel and spreadsheet for scheduling, planning, budgeting to forecasting, and do all kind of like visualization, like data visualization, like graph and chart, And I feel like, hey, that's great. Maybe we can commit it to learning spreadsheet for the next 2 or 3 months, 8 to 10 weeks or something. Okay, so let's try to do that, right? And so we plan. So I'm going to plan on how we're going to learn Excel together. But let's start learning Excel, okay? And so let me introduce you the reason and the top feature of Excel, okay? So from now on, whenever that I'm talking about spreadsheet, I'm referring to both um, Google Spreadsheet and Microsoft Excel. Of course, Microsoft Excel, you need to have Microsoft licenses and all that. But if you don't have it, then you can actually go with the free version of Spreadsheet, which provided by Google. It's Google Spreadsheet. Even though Excel might provide you a more fancy, the graphics looks more fancy, more polished visual, but you know what? But that requires licensing. That requires that you have to pay. I feel like you can start it out with Google Spreadsheet. It's free, and 80% of the basic core functions that people use in spreadsheet are essentially the same between Google Spreadsheet and Excel. Okay. And you know what? That's our goal. We're gonna learn Excel. We're gonna plan that, right? And I have to tell you that beside that, spreadsheet can be a great little software that's a very useful things. It can be a great productivity tools, right? Let's say that we plan to complete our goal, complete our task. We're looking for tools or anything that help us make progress. Getting productivities. Making progress. Being productive is making progress. Toward your end goal, toward your thing that you plan, right? So you can have that result achieved. It's kind of a result oriented, right? What is the purpose of planning? We want to be able to get a little closer and finally complete it, and achieve our end result, right? I mean, everybody has goals. Why? Because everybody has a dream, right? We all have dreams. What is your goal? If somebody asking you, what are your goals? You know what? Maybe you don't feel like you have goals, but you know what? We all have goals. Why? Because we all have dreams. Your dream is your goal. But that's kind of like a lifetime dream is hard, right? So we learn how to plan for a bigger things like our lifetime dream by practicing planning for sort of like a smaller task. First of all, maybe we started out with 1 day task, right? And then 1 week task, that require you to sort of like do a couple things before you can complete it. And then you can actually work on the next bigger task, like a 2 week task, then a month task, and then 3 months project, and then 6 month project, and a year and 2 year projects, right? So you can actually break it down into a smaller one. And as you plan in all different types of tasks in a different scale, you learn about planning, and you're gonna have your own text. What exactly is it planning? To this day, I it's just it's kind of like a very abstract concept, but everybody has our own text. I have my own text about planning, right? We read about. There's a tons of books and people talk about planning and time management, but what is planning exactly, and what is time management, right? I mean, for me, I feel like planning is basically just the first step of planning is getting organized, right? It's just getting organized is very important. The first step of planning, on the laptop, on the computer, the concept of folder, file system, subfolder, you can create it as many folder and subfolder as you need it. In the real world, it's the same thing. It's sort of like give you a concept of compartmentalization. It's kind of like you get a binder with a different folder, with the folder tabs and all this stuff, right? Because what matters is that we plan and we find ways so that we can make progress, right? So that we can achieve a result, And then as we plan more stuff, we're gonna learn all these tips, and you're gonna use that toward applying to planning for a bigger task, bigger project, and your lifetime dream. So that's your goal, right? Your goal is your dream is your goals, right? So organize and plan, right? I mean, everybody organize differently. I have to be honest with you. I'm not a very organized person myself. And I'm not great at planning either. Planning and time management has never been my strongest skill, right? But with Excel spreadsheet, it helped me to become a little more organized and a little bit more better at planning. And I feel like, hey, just a little bit more organized, that's good enough, right? And it can be a great productivity as well if you customize and apply it, okay? So, you know what, make a trip, just kind of like put it on your to-do list or, task to-do list, make a trip to any office supply, like Target, Stable, or here, New York City by the library, which is where I started my journey in New York City. I started with the Public City Library, and I enrolled a lot of technology connect workshop. And then, a couple store down the street is like Muji store and Kinokuniya store. So I basically just sort of like make a trip to those places and I buy some very good office supplies. So it's great stuff. So getting organized is one of the best things for you to do it. Sometimes just getting a yellow stickers, put it on your notebooks. That's going to be a great planning tips, all that stuff. Time management. What is time management? To me is, hold on. Oh, yeah, okay. Anyway, somebody stopped me. They say that we have to sort of like go home or you have to sort of like go to a different location because the weather outside is snowing again. Okay. But anyway, so getting back to time management, right? What is exactly time management? It's kind of like energy management, right? For me, I feel like it's an energy management. Let's say I have an half an hour task, and I have a window of 6 hours free, but it doesn't mean that I'll be able to do that half an hour task, because I don't feel like doing it, right? So for me, I feel my text on time management is all about is energy management, but everybody have different takes on that. You can schedule all these things, but then you don't feel like doing it. Especially for me, all of the stuff that I've been doing, and all of the things that I do online, it's just my, it requires that I have to be internally motivated, internally inspired to do all this stuff, right? So, and where do we get our energy from? We get our energy from food. We get our energy from sleep, right? I mean, speaking of sleep, I can hardly remember, that I get a good, solid night's sleep ever since I came to New York. Right? Can you believe that? Because most of the time I stay in the shelter, I can hardly remember, a, any good, solid, night rest for me. Sometimes I feel like I sleep better on the train. And sometimes I sleep at the beach, like Brighton Beach in Queens and Far Rockaway, and then it's too cold. You go to a drop-in center and then you sleep. You sit in the chair and you sleep. But anyway, you know. But I'm grateful for a lot of resources I'm getting, and New York City is such a place that provides you. It's a very resourceful. Okay, so you get the energy from, well, what is it? From sleep, from food, maybe from exercise, maybe from watching movie, maybe from uh, listening to music, right? I mean, people, sometimes you have a great sleep, great food, but then some things that is basically trigger you. Maybe just listening to certain song, music, and suddenly you get inspired. You want to do this kind of stuff, right? So all this. Why is not going? Okay, and then continue on. I don't know, my PowerPoint gets frozen or something. The top feature of Excel is powerful data organization. Yep. You know, Excel, spreadsheet, Google Spreadsheet provide you, a place for you to store data and sort data. If you take a look at all the project management software, they all have one thing in common. They just sort of like store data in the column and rows, right? I mean, all the great project management software, because I feel like, sometimes I'm interested in the scale that it takes in order to plan and successfully achieve the result. Because for me, I feel like, there's certain things that I plan and I get it. But there are quite a number of things that I plan and I dream to have it, but I don't quite get there yet. So I don't know what it takes. What exactly am I missing? So it's still been a mystery for me too. So I feel like, so whenever I read something online about project management, I'm always get excited. I click on that, I read more about that stuff and see what kind of tools they use and all that. But you know what? I feel like there are things you can learn from others, from reading books. You can learn, there are a lot of things that you can learn from others by reading their books, stuff that they write. But there are things that you don't learn unless you go through yourself personally. You go through that journey yourself. And I believe planning and time management are one of those things, right? Is everybody have their own takes on that kind of stuff. Sorting, store information, they be able to sort the information. I'm going to give you the demonstration later. Filter, I have not explored this feature in Spreadsheet, but you know what? We can actually learn together, and it's good for me because as I research more about the topic, I learn more about stuff, right? To teach is to learn twice. And I remember that from a good friend of mine. So let me show you the feature. This is sorting, right? Here you are. You see that? Sorting, you can actually sort all this header for the column name. You can sort it based on their last name. You can sort it based on their first name, right? And then you can sort it based on the customer name. It seems like on spreadsheet you can only sort it based on one column. The database, the large scale database, they be able to help you sort like multiple columns. You can sort within the first column, and then within the first column you can sort it there's the second column. But on spreadsheet so far, but you know what, that's good enough, right? Take a look at all this stuff, right? They be able to do it instantly, so I'm grateful for it, as opposed that you have to do it manually. And when you do it manually, there's no guarantee that we get it right, or brand claim that this is correct, but no, right? So that is, and the next thing is they have a built-in calculation and formulas, which is a very nice thing, right? Have you think of a spreadsheet like a combo, a combination of financial calculators and math calculators and statistics, right? They'd be able to perform calculation from a simple arithmetic to a very complex financial calculation. For example, let's say one of the activities in the financial world is when people actually come up with the table, the schedule for amortization, right? And we do that on our life all the time. Let's say you take out a loan to buy your first car, right? So you want to take a look at it, or you go into the dealer and you deal with a car salesman to buy a car, right? And we do, this is a loan amortization schedule, right? See that? Let's say that you look at a car, and the value of it is like $40,000, and you be able to put down $10,000. So the loan amount that you're going to take out that you need is $30,000, and you want to calculate to see exactly how much is your monthly payment. For 25. No, wait a minute. The interest rate is for 25%. You want to pay it off in 5 years, and then you want to pay it every month. So there's going to be 12 months in a year. So basically, you pay for 60 months, right? And then your monthly payment is going to be $555.89, right? Right? And then let's say that, maybe you'll be able to put down, instead of like 10,000, you have only 5,000. So your loan amount is going to be 35,000. That's your monthly payment is going to change. It gone up to $648.53, right? That's one thing that just looking at the amortization, which is a very well-known financial calculation, it's going to help you when you actually go into a car dealership and buy stuff, right? Because when you deal with a salesman to buy car, not the fleet manager, because the fleet manager is the one that you're dealing with when you buy stuff online. And car salesman always asking you how much can you afford per month, how much can you afford per month. But you know what? The single most important factor to focus on is not the monthly payment that you can afford. It's the interest rate, that we try to negotiate. Because you know what? The interest rate, sometimes if you have your monthly payment and you say you can afford that much, they're going to stretch it out over maybe 6 years or 7 years, right? So the thing that you should focus on negotiating is the interest rate, not the monthly payment. Let's say, Christmas, perfect time to buy a car. Why? Because, a lot of people are busy shopping and spending money for, Christmas gift and all this, and car dealership, they need to sell stuff. So they're willing to sort of like give a lot of promotional interest rate, like 1%. Let's see that if you be able to get 1% interest rate, and what is possible in the Christmas, perfect time to buy, by the way. You see how your monthly payment changed. It changed to $598, right? And by the end of 5 years, which means by the end of like, I don't know, maybe 52, and this is how much you're gonna pay it off, right? So is built-in financial calculation. Think of time value of money. That's financial calculator, that has time value of money built-in formulas, cost you like, $100. And then, on top of that, you get a math calculator or statistic. All of this stuff, right? Built-in function is very powerful. All those calculators is cut like $100 each, right? Think of spreadsheet. You'll be able to actually get it. You just have to customize and know how to use those built-in function. It's all provided, free. It's very powerful stuff, So never sort of like associated free stuff with like lowly developed or cheaply made. No, it's just as good, just as powerful. I for one personally grateful for, a lot of open source software, because otherwise I probably would not have learned all these things, because I relied on a lot of software, and it's open source software that make available freely and accessibly freely by the worldwide developer community. So I would be the first one, to share with everybody the thing that has been helping me, because I'm the number one recipient of all this open source software. Okay, now moving on. you know. Financial calculator, time value of money, which is a very well-known accounting financial formulas to calculate the loans, the interest rate, compounding number of compounding interest, you know, mathematical models, visualization and data analysis, great one, you know, because I'm kind of like a visual person, you know, because people say that they categorize people in different types of learner. A visual learner learn things differently from an audio person. I'm kind of like a visual person, and when I see stuff expressed in terms of graph and chart, I tend to remember the information retain a lot faster and quicker and longer in my mind. You know, so that's a very good one. Let's take a look at the example of visualization. Let's see this one here, right? Pretty nice, right? It's a really nice graph, you know. And how do you, this one right here, how do I get rid of these things here? I guess you cannot get rid of it. It's there, you know. That's probably one of the disadvantages when you download stuff for free. You know, they're gonna advertise their stuff right there on the top. But anyway, you know what? I just look up stuff online, you know, a template, Excel template, spreadsheet template for graph, and you know, I just download this one from the web. Okay. Free and high accessibility. It's free. You know why? It's Google's spreadsheet is free, you know, and it's just as good and just as powerful. So do not underestimate the free stuff with the lowly developed or cheaply made. Okay, so can you afford free? Say yes, yes. You know, I can afford free. I relied on this stuff up until now. Collaboration and automation. Automation and collaboration, of course, when you put stuff in Microsoft OneDrive or Google Drive, you'll be able to invite other people to work on the same spreadsheet documents. You know, multiple people in a group be able to edit all these changes and, you know, simultaneously. So you'll be able to keep track of all changes being made by different users, you know, in real times. You know, and automation, one thing about automation is that just like built-in function, and how do you apply, you know, all of this feature, spreadsheet feature to your personal life at the personal level, you know, that's where it becomes very powerful tools for you. It become very powerful productivity tools for you. For example, you know, let's say, what is your goal? You know, sometimes, you know, we say, what is your dream? And people hesitate to say, oh, my dream is this. But you know what? Just ask this a very basic question. What are the things that you're struggling with, right? What is the new thing that you want to see, you know? And what is the issue? What problem are you trying to solve? Answering to this question help you to see, oh, that's my goal, you know? What do I want? You know, if you know the answer to this question, what do you want? That's your goal. What issue that you're struggling with? What problem are you trying to solve? And then the next big thing is, what is your dream? What is your lifetime dream, right? So by answering all these questions, it's going to give you, that's your goal. And I'm going to share with you, let's say that if we apply spreadsheet, you know, to our personal life, let's say that a real life scenario, you have been given a budget, you know, not a fancy budget, maybe $100, $200, you know, $300 a month, right? And then you have all these needs, the things you wanted, you know, would you be able to meet all of these things financially? You know, chances are not. We probably have less money than what we need for, right? So you can actually plan and you can see and forecast financially whether or not you are going to be short, okay? Let's say you've been given maybe a budget of $250 a month, right? And then, you know what? And then let's say that window costs you maybe $99, right? So you know what? By that time, by the time that you probably fulfill all this one, you probably have $29 left, which is cool, right? Let's say the haircut costs you, I don't know, maybe $40. Yeah, you know, then you probably end up, having $1 left. Let's say you have clothing, you want to increase your budget for clothing like $40, $50 per month. Yeah, you could be short by $29, you know, and then you can play with this priority index, zero. Let's say that maybe software is actually has less priority than clothing. I don't know. Maybe software has more priority than swimming. So you sort of like say this one 2, and then this one 3, and then you can use and take advantage of the certain functionalities of Excel or spreadsheet in order for you to see this one doesn't have. And let's convert this one to a table so you can sort it by column. Convert this one to table so you can actually see that. Okay, so now you have your priority index. You change your priority. You say that maybe vitamins, maybe clothing has more priority. You say 1, and then this one going to be like 6, right? And then you just change your priority. You sort column A to Z. You see whether or not you probably have any. You're going to be short by $4. By the time you get to the 5th item, let's say you have only $150. There you go, right? You're going to be short $44 by the time you get to the 3rd item. So that's going to give you a heads up. Hey, you're going to be short by $44. Are you going to borrow mom for $5? Borrow Sister Mary for another $20? Are you going to apply for a shelter's credit card and borrow from credit card, right? And remember, all of these things, let's say that if you have to do it manually, right? Let's say you have 150, right? And then this one is minus 50, minus 99, minus 45, minus 20, right? Let's say that you have to do it manually, right? Right? 150 minus 50, so that's going to be 100, right? And then 100 minus 99 is going to be 1, right? And then this is going to be minus 44, right? Well, if you do it manually, but now you can automate. Let's say that all of this, take this one, you plus this, right? And then you just copy this whole thing now. See that? It's the same. Right? You see how, it's only about the first 3 rows. You see how much time did it take me? Now you can basically automate by copying the formulas down. So that's going to save you a lot of time. So, which is a very good thing. Okay? Yep. Automation. And you'll be able to work with other people collaboratively online. So let's commit it to learning Excel spreadsheet together, you know. And another thing, you can take advantage and make use of the feature from the spreadsheet in order to help you. Let's say that what is your problem, you know, the thing that you try to fix and try to overcome. Let's say that, hey, maybe I try to, you know, I try to be on time, right? But sometimes, you know what, you don't know. This is going to actually give you a little tools, you know, to say that, you know, what is your appointment time? What is your appointment time, right? Let's say that your appointment time is 10:30, right? A.m. in the morning. What is your flight time? 10:30 in the morning. Flying out of LAX or I don't know, New York City, JFK, right? 10:30. No, make it like 6 o'clock. 10:30, okay. And then your traveling time to the airport, maybe 90 minutes, right? And then buffer time, let's say that, you know, maybe you need another, you know, you don't want to rush yourself, give yourself 25 minutes. And then, you know, how long does it typically take you for you to change and dress up at home? Maybe 15 minutes, right? Yeah. So it's give you some idea that you need to sort of like get it ready at 8:20. And then, you know what, you cannot leave, you know, home no later than 8:35, right? You get yourself, get it ready at 8:20, right? Let's say you change it and then your flight time is, I don't know, maybe 1:45 in the afternoon. Yeah, they're going to change, you know. Then you have to start getting ready no later than 11:35, right? So create these little tools to customize, you know, the things, your goal that you try to solve, you know, and always good. You know what? Because your goal, you want to be a little closer to your goal, you know, today than yesterday. You want to be a little closer to your goal, to your dream today than 2 weeks ago. And by tomorrow, about same time, you will be closer than you are now today, right? So you want to be able to sort of like looking for ways so that you can make progress. You know, have you ever heard of people saying, you know, today is such a productive day for me, which means that they're getting stuff done. You know, they'll be able to get stuff done, right? Sometimes it's not easy for you to get stuff done. You know, sometimes you just wake up and you learn how to breathe and eat and rest, you know. But you know what? So that's why I feel like, hey, just finding things that help you and yourself to be more productive. That means you'll be able to make progress toward and identify the productivity tool that help you to make the most progress. That would be, you know, would be great. Okay. So until next time, you know, for the next 8 to 10 weeks, you know, 3 months, 2 months, let's commit it, and I try to prepare and created this exercise. So help you be able to learn the terminology, the spreadsheet terminology, and the anatomy of a spreadsheet. So that's where, you know, for future, let's say you were to look it up how to do certain things. When people explain to you step by step, you know exactly what they refer to. Say, do this one, the range of cell, you know exactly what they're talking about, right? So not only that we be able to do, you know, all this stuff, but you be able to understand when other people explain to you and show you step by step how to do it. Okay, let's say that we're gonna make I have my personal blogs, right? And I remember 3 weeks ago, I believe, whatever that I wrote these blogs, and I read some stuff on CNN, and probably at the banner on the top running horizontally, and they have some ad or something. They say project tracker, visualizer, project tracker, Excel add-in. I feel like, hey, this is interesting. I click on that, and and I got to these things here. And at that time, I feel like this is wonderful. I want to see how they do this stuff because I saw this timeline things, all the time at the project management software, but those software, you have to pay for it, right? And I feel like, hey, this is wonderful. At the time when I click on the ad, or when the advertiser say project management, project tracker, and like Excel, add-in, if you click to it, I'd be able to download it. But when I install, I still get a problem installing into Excel. But however, at that time I don't know how to implement these things, and then it took me like a couple of weeks. I keep coming back to see how they fix it, and you know what? I'd be able to learn it. Once you learn it, I feel like, oh, it's simple, right? But when you have not learned how to do it, you feel, oh, it's so hard. Let's say that our goal is going to make, this is going to be our end goal, end result. We want to make our Excel like this one, If you take a look at it, you feel like, oh, this is good, or you can take a look at the this one, right? We can actually say that this is going to be our goal. We try to make our Excel, and we know by the end of our Excel series, we'll be able to make graph like this, right? That's going to be our goal, right? So how do we going to do it? How are you going to do this stuff, right? First of all, let's break this one into a smaller task, right? Maybe we just go ahead and create a started page, Maybe we don't know how to do these things yet, but you know what? It's okay. Just sort of like created a page with the started values. We formatted. It looks just like that. This color. Can we do that? Yes, we can. That's going to be our first part, and then after that, we're going to learn how to sort of like implement. These things. I think it's called the drop down box or something, right? But you know what? This looks very nice, and then try to break it into a smaller step, right? That you can do it, and that's our end result, our end goal. We just work backward. How do we get this stuff? I feel like, hey, just make our spreadsheet look just like this, right? Color-wise, information, data, put them in there. This one, when we come to learn how to do this, and then after that, we learn how to implement these things. The next thing is we try to see how we can do this stuff. Okay? So that's going to be our goal of learning Excel. And this is going to be our first goal, is try to make all. This is going to be our sub-task, sub-goal, right? Okay? And until next time, just keep your eyes on on my personal blog, where I'm gonna post all the assignment and all the exercise. That's gonna help us to know the terminology and the spreadsheet anatomy. Okay. Thank you so much for your time, and I gonna see you next time. Okay. Bye.